So as a matter of fact, this is not the first time I have had a Mother's Day that fell on a major feast day. So what is the connection between Mother's Day and Ascension Sunday? Not much. I'll do my best, but it's a tangential relationship at best. So to focus on the Ascension specifically for a moment or two, the biggest thing I have to give you is what I talked about last year at this time, which is very well written in Pope Benedict's book, Jesus of Nazareth. If you haven't gotten that series yet, that is a fine use of your time and money. It's an excellent series. So Pope Benedict correctly and coherently explains that the Ascension is when Jesus goes back to the Father and yet remains with his disciples for all time. So it's goodbye and not goodbye. Jesus at the Ascension, before the Ascension I should say, says to his disciples, he's saying his goodbyes to his disciples, but at the same time he is saying, we don't really need to say goodbye ever. When the disciples heard that, they didn't understand. It's a weird message after all. It'd be hard for anyone to understand that on the first go. But when the Ascension happens, the disciples were joyful. They were filled with joy at the end of the story when they got it, when they understood that Jesus will be with us all for all time, albeit in a new and unique way. So that's my little summation of last year's homily for Ascension. Let's talk about moms. Moms are a big deal. You guys know that. And you know the big stuff. Giving birth, taking care of you when you're sick, teaching you when you're at home, explaining to you that your father really isn't as clever as he thinks he is. These are things that moms do, at least in my household. And I call them momisms. Momisms, things that moms just do. And some momisms you outgrow. Case in point, making your bed. Your mom makes your bed. I don't think they can help it. I think it's just something they do, like instinctively. But your mom is not going to make your bed forever. And that's fine. It's more than fine. That's good. That's the way it should be. Another thing, cutting your sandwiches. Now, I know you're going to feel a little superstitious. I'm going to ask you all the same. Please raise your hand if you really believe that your sandwich tastes better when your mom cuts it into triangles. All right. So I was really hoping for more hands raised. So for those of you sandwich heretics that didn't raise your hands, I'm sorry that you don't understand that triangles are just a more delicious shape. It's like how red cars go faster, therefore red is a faster color. It's just a fact. So that's a momism, but you outgrow that. Your mom is not going to cut your sandwiches forever. But there are other momisms that do not go away. You do not outgrow some things about your mom. I have absolutely inherited my mom's fiery sense of justice. My mom and I are the sort of people, we have a great deal of trouble ignoring things that happen directly in front of us. When there's something genuinely wrong happening, my mom and I are the sort of people, we tend to act more than the average person in those situations. That was a momism for me growing up. It gets us into trouble sometimes. But if I had the power to cut it out of my personality, I would not do so. I consider that a gift from God through my mom. And that is something that I am not going to outgrow. We should talk about grandmas too, because grandmas are a part of Mother's Day. I have inherited my grandmother's grandmaism, I guess, of wonder and awe. Wonder and awe is that joy of recognizing God's presence all around us, whether it be nature or the human imagination or the glory of the liturgy. All of that counts as wonder and awe. And sometimes I try to explain to people that my grandfather was the religious one, and my grandmother was the spiritual one. Now, they were both religious, they were both spiritual. But my grandfather, he had that religion thing down. He went to Mass every day. He went to confession very often. He had it down. My grandfather's gift of the Holy Spirit was piety. That was him. My grandmother had wonder and awe. Okay, she could not get enough of being in nature. It was my grandma-ism that not only would you count on finding grandma in the garden, but you'd find her there with the Holy Spirit. It's true, she didn't go to Mass as often as my grandfather. I assume she didn't go to confession as often as my grandfather. That would have been a hard record to beat for anyone, by the way. But she had a deep and powerful love for God that she expressed in her own unique way. And in that way, I am way closer to my grandmother than my grandfather. That is something you don't outgrow. And as a final mention, we would be remiss not to point out that Mother's Day is also about godmothers. For those of you who come to church looking for homework assignments, I assume there are one or two of you, you are likely going to spend time today with your mother, if at all possible. Here is my homework assignment for you. I challenge you to give your godmother a call today, because she worries about you. Even if you didn't realize it, she has walked with you on your journey of faith. That is a godmother-ism, if there ever was one. So once again, everything we've mentioned up to this point is a momism. Things that moms do, things that moms leave us. Some things you outgrow. Even if I make a grilled cheese sandwich with American cheese, butter, and garlic salt and cut it into triangles myself, it's just not the same. Some things you have to say goodbye to, just like those disciples had to say goodbye to Jesus when his earthly ministry came to an end. That was a chapter of Jesus' life that had to come to a close. But there are other momisms you don't outgrow. There are some influences from your mother that you will never have to say goodbye to. They will remain with you forever, just as Jesus remains with us forever. And I will bet you anything that those momisms that stay with you, the momisms you don't outgrow, are somehow related to the three theological virtues of faith, hope, or love.